Okay, hello. This is the Campers with Special Needs makeup training, and so we are going to start with a brief activity called Explain Yourself. And we're going to do a shortened version of it because I don't really know how we're going to do it not in a shortened way. So, um, think about some of the parts of your routine that you do daily. So, what's your bedtime routine when you're packing for a long trip, preparing a really fancy meal, your exercise routine? Um, what do you do first and why? How do they have specific routines and order? Um, are there traditions related to these things that you do? And how would you explain to someone else how to do exactly what you do? And what do you do if you're in a new place and were forced to do your routine out of order or in a totally new way? And what if you're in a new place and there wasn't enough time to even complete your routine? Um, and so I think what comes out of all of those things is that um, you definitely do your routine for a reason, and it's probably unlike anyone else's. And so and imagine not being able to do your routine, it will definitely make you feel off. And I know even like basketball players and sports people feel almost superstitious about things like this. And so, this is a really good way to think about how campers with special needs feel about their own routines that they do at home. And this will translate to how we help them find a routine at camp that helps with what they need. And if you want to try to think of like what is special needs, so now what are special needs? Um, So, special needs are not just the diagnoses, so it's not just ADHD or anything like that, but what is special about ADHD that makes these special needs a thing for these campers? So, dig deeper and think more about things like needing directions to be shorter if they have ADHD, or wanting experiences to be more active, or impulsively trying new things, or just having a lot of energy rather than just saying ADHD. So, the two themes that really come out of these concepts are that campers with special needs are just campers that have different needs, and campers that feel frustrated that people around them don't really understand them. And so, we're going to work with those two concepts for the working definition of special needs throughout this training. And so, again, this really boils down to like our behavior management training again, when really understanding kids with special needs is just like understanding anybody, and you really just want to understand your campers on a deeper level. So your campers with special needs really just have different needs and may just need things presented in a different manner, which is totally okay. And so our job as a counselor is to really just figure out what their behavior is saying and how to um, make camp more friendly to what their needs are. And so we're responsible for creating a space where these campers feel safe, loved, and respected. And part of doing that consists of shifting thinking to helping these campers feel comfortable at camp. So this might mean you change how you phrase your instructions, or maybe you create a personalized schedule for your camper's anxiety, or maybe even just set a timer so that the camper has an expectation for a transition coming. So for any type of behavior strategy, there's two key components. Again, understanding the behavior and getting to know the campers individually, as we've talked about in basically every video of this training. Um, so this part of the training is really just to brainstorm what those two concepts would look like with campers that have special needs. And we're not going to actually do this group activity, but if we did do this activity, um, let's see, every behavior would basically saying something about communication. So what is it saying? And um, it is anxiety provoking and or frustrating when people don't understand you. How does this behavior show anxiety or frustration? How can you minimize that? Letting a camper jump. So, how can you minimize that? So, for example, again, a really good example for campers with special needs are transition time. So, transitioning between activities um, can be a difficult time for them. So, definitely giving them uh, a good amount of time to be able to transition to their next thing and giving them a good amount of time and maybe a verbal, maybe even a visual uh, cue to help them know that they are about to end what they're doing now and go to something else. Awesome. And so some other behavior management ideas we will go over on an actually on like a different sheet, but the hardest part of any staff member is to remember to try um, and to stick with the ideas. So unless they're looking to understand the behavior and get to know the campers individually, um, none of these ideas will work. So patience is definitely key. And if you do ever feel overwhelmed, again, ask for help because maybe you can't help your camper the best, but another one of your co-counselors can. And that can be seen throughout the week, especially when you start getting really, really tired, and that is totally okay. Okay, so let me switch sheets. Mm. And so here are some techniques for helping campers with special needs have a better time at camp and really just make sure that they're getting the best experience that they can. One would be a schedule. So most people are comfortable when they know the schedule, especially campers with special needs. They do have routines, they have things in place, and it may be a little bit harder for them to adapt to the camp life. And so a schedule can be very, very helpful for them. So camp is typically a very different schedule from the rest of their lives. Um, However, it almost always starts to repeat itself after the first 24 hours. And so, yes, your first day may be very hard if you do have a child with special needs, but throughout the week it may get easier. Hopefully, it does. And you utilize all your resources as well to make it easier for you. Um, and on this day, usually we do hand out little mini schedules to give to the campers so that they have in the back of their name tag. But definitely, if you want to like keep an extra one on you, you should have a schedule with you as well. Just make sure that you can show it to a camper if they really, really absolutely need it and they need visual cues to help them transition throughout the day. And so, even if they do not have any choice or control over the schedule, this having the schedule in their hand is calming and refer to the schedule from the beginning, immediate, what's next, midterm, and long term. So it's definitely helpful if you go throughout the whole schedule, like an overview at the beginning, and then reminding them throughout the day what's coming next, what time, etc., and use the schedule before every transition. And using both written and verbal prompts to talk about the schedule is helpful, as well as discussing any changes in the schedule as soon as you know about them. So, being really transparent with your campers is a really easy way to alleviate any stress that campers with special needs may be feeling. And so, if you do have a camper with special needs, definitely try to stick to the schedule. And even though I know camp requires you to be a little bit flexible, um, try to stick to the schedule as much as you can so that they're not surprised and that they feel like they were attacked by just some random actions and stuff like that. Um, the next one is routine. So we have touched on this multiple times, but we do have a lot of routines at camp that are either just different than at home. So our meals are definitely different, our bedtime's definitely different, going to activities, and they can be totally foreign. So our camp, our song circle, our feed on bedtime. So the quicker that we can help these campers with special needs acclimate, um, especially maybe even things that could be super similar to things that they do at home, it may be helpful to get them into the camp feels better and help them enjoy their time at camp more. So again, they do feel more secure when they know what is expected. So try to keep the routine the same and maybe even try to incorporate some things they do at home. Um, so, what are the routines? Wake up slash daily arrival, to and from meals, to and from activities, downtime, bedtime, daily departure, rest time, and all camp activities. And so, what you should plan for these different activities is who is doing what and when. And it may be easier for you to just have like a certain counselor always helping the kids brush their teeth or something like that, or always the same counselor for the certain camper to always be with them to tuck them into bed, or to always get your hand sanitizer before you get your plate and your meal, and then to always get a napkin before you get your fork, etc., etc. And so, another thing that should be planned, what is the goal, and what do you want the campers to know, as well as what happens if the plan is messed up, and how will you teach these campers quickly, which is important because even though um, there are multiple days of camp, it is only a week. So really trying to get them to acclimate to camp as quickly as possible will help make the week easier, not only for your camper, but for you as well. Again, we did talk about transitions already, so supporting those transitions. So when you transition, this is when you're going from one activity to the next. So it may be going from an all camp activity on the field to mealtime. It's really difficult, even just for children that don't even have special needs, but for children with special needs, it could be an even more difficult time. Unfortunately, it happens all day long and typically more than once an hour. And so please give them ample time to transition because it can get a little bit hard depending on how they're feeling that day. So here are some tips that you could try. So using a timer with an alarm instead of just saying 5 more minutes, giving reminders starting at about 15 minutes, talking about what is going to happen during the transition, um, and what will be the next activity. So if we're going to transition from activity, but there is enough time for us to go back to the cabin to go grab some jackets because it's raining to go before we go to the dining hall, then we'll give them about 15 minutes and then say, hey, we are going to our cabin to go grab our coats. And once we grab our coats, we will be going to the dining hall for dinner in about 15 minutes. Um, and then, sorry, I just lost my place. Allow for the current activity to have closure. So make sure that you don't just stop the game in the middle of the game, but that the game actually ends, the project ends, or there's time to come back to it, or else they'll feel like it's incomplete and they'll really just fight you on it. Um, and there's no need to do it. We can take an extra minute to just make sure that they feel closure. And then talk about what is next in an excited and positive way. Again, this just goes for any camper. We're excited to be at camp and it's going to be a fun time. And again, we are the examples that we set for our campers. So, what type of energy we have for them and what type of energy we have regarding activities is what they will most likely reflect as well. And then again, if you're struggling or anything like that, you can also try to use some simple steps as a visual support for the transition. So you can write on a whiteboard, in a notebook, or in a notebook, so you could do finish playing soccer, get a drink of water, collect our belongings, step by step cues for the child to follow and check off a list. And also use very, very simple language and use minimal language as well. So just be very direct with what you want to do and use first then language when transitioning. So first we are doing arts and crafts, then we will go play capture the flag. Another technique would be redirection. And so you've heard about redirection in other videos as well. And so this is a way for you to redirect that energy towards something productive before it turns into negative behavior. And so the four components for redirection are getting to know them, awareness of behavior, attention getters, and we'll go over good ideas. But so getting to know them, again, first day, ask them questions. They're your camper. You will spend a lot of time with them. I do not doubt that you will get to know your campers, but really, really try and make it very intentional that you are getting to know them. And then the next one would be awareness of behavior. So, what are you looking for and what do you want to see? What is he or she doing intentionally right now? And how does this behavior change depending on who is around and what we're doing? And so, really knowing what could trigger this camper, what could set them off, what makes them happy, what makes them sad. Things like this, again, it's like really getting to know your camper and really being observant of specific things that they do in their routine that could help or hurt their camp experience. Attention getters are just good for all campers, especially for campers with special needs though. So attention getters, clap once if you hear me, or you could do a bang bang clap, a bang bang clap clap, or you could sing a song or a call and response. You'll usually figure this out with your unit on the first day of camp, and so you can do something fun. You can do something, just get creative. But this really is the way for you to get your campers' attention, and it will be a consistent way for you to get their attention throughout camp. And consistency is key. So, knowing that once they hear whatever your attention getter is, they should know that they're transitioning, that they're moving to something else. And throughout the week, hopefully, it does get better. But it's a great way to just keep them focused and for them to know what is happening next as well, because it's another signal to them. And so, good ideas. What's in your what's in your backpack? Redirect to the schedule slash activity. You should have some go-to games and songs that you have, and then you could try doing something physical for their redirection. So it really could be anything random. And again, I have faith in your creative abilities to make it appropriate for whatever cabin you are with um, to help these campers with special needs. Again, we also talked about this in the behavior management module as well, but plan ignoring. And so, an effective management technique sometimes is just to ignore the bad behavior. There are two times to use plan ignoring as a strategy, and one would be delaying talking about a meltdown or bad behavior, and two, picking your battles. And so, delay talking about a meltdown. Most adults that work with kids want to talk and process bad behavior or a meltdown either right away or quickly after the kid is over the most intense expression of their behavior. But with campers with special needs, most of the time that timing is really hard on the camper and has the potential to shut them down or worse, have another breakdown. Um, so just give them time to simmer down and then you can address it later, which I know is not what we really said with other campers, but just being sensitive to the fact that they may be triggered again by talking about it, or that it may just not be as an effective of a time for you to even talk about it, then um, there's no need to really put that much effort into that time if it's not even being utilized to promote positive behavior afterwards. So take your time, totally okay. And then you could redirect the camera back into the activity or the schedule, give them some time and emotional space, have a conversation later. That's what we just said. Um, so then also picking your battles. Does every kid need to follow every rule exactly? Really, what are you looking for is effort and efficiency when it comes to what they're doing. Um, so here's picking your battles. So there's, if you look at it closely, so there's high efficiency at the top, and there's low efficiency, and then there's low effort, and then there is high effort on the right side. And so Um, you can see there are times when you should really pick your battles wisely. So, in the high efficiency and the low effort area, you could say, um, that was easy. I'm glad you noticed that right away and did something. There is no reason to cause an issue when you don't have to. And so, positively recognize the lack of effort, praise the outcome and result, and you can move on from whatever situation it was at that point. And so, um, if the camper is exhibiting high efficiency and high effort, you could say like, "Well done. I like how you handled this specific situation. That took a lot of courage." So you really want to praise that behavior because they did try really hard and it was really effective. And you want to validate the choice or even fix if it necessarily wasn't as effective, but they really chose the high efficiency, and acknowledge the difficulty that they overcame to produce that product. Um, and so when it's low effort, when the child's not trying to do anything and it's also low, it also has low efficacy. So what does it look like? This is for meltdowns, aggression, being mean to others, and withdrawal. So this is when you um, should just take a step back and don't pick a battle there. So especially during our meltdown carnival, we had some campers. Our situation was a camper running around and having a meltdown and yelling. And so the best thing to do at that point is to just let them calm themselves down and to let them run it out, basically. Which I know seems weird, but again, to waste your own energy on it, you won't really have that much of a reward on it. So there's really no point. If there's high effort, if it requires high effort and low efficiency, so this is when you would say like, "Thanks for trying so hard. It looks like you still don't get what you want. What do you think went wrong, and what should we do differently?" So again, praise the effort. Uh, Figure out with the camper with the special needs like why the choice fell short, and come up with some other options. Cool, cool, cool. Another way to help campers with special needs is to create clear expectations. Again, this is just you with any other campers as well, but especially with campers with special needs, having clear boundaries and expectations for them is crucial for their enjoyment of camp and their cooperation for when you expect behavior change. Um, so it's important to acknowledge that for kids with special needs, it can also be difficult to generalize expectations from one experience or activity to the next. So with specific activities, you should really set clear expectations as well. So if you're transitioning from arts and crafts to sports, set expectations for arts and crafts, but then set different expectations for sports. Um, Expectations can change often, and try to be overtly clear when you do it. And again, try to use simple language so that there's just not excessive talking. Use visual supports when you talk about your expectations. Again, use fewer words. Try to cull your expectations to only include 3 to 5 for each activity, so don't include too many. Create experiential expectations or expectations by doing. Um, and how do you know that you have not been clear? So, with campers with special needs, it's really hard to use sarcasm, even if it is just a joke. Um, Many campers, especially under the age of 14, really can't relate to them, and it could cause confusion, frustration, or even hostility. And so it's best to really just use clear language. 7 is be proactive about praising positive behavior. Again, we talked about praise earlier. There's 3 steps: being timely, being um, focused on the product, and being specific. And so, again, it is easy to address negative behavior, but when we do see positive behavior from these campers with special needs, it is such a phenomenal day, and they deserve the praise that they get. And so, make it really specific and meaningful, and it can really help throughout the week when they receive praise for things, and they really do take it to heart, and they do start changing their behavior if they realize that, like, oh, I didn't do that last time. I shouldn't do it this time. And I was really appreciated for doing this, so I'll do this. Um, and again, like these can be very, very simple praises, such as staying seated during lunch, giving compliments to other campers, transitioning well that day. It really, they really do so like take it to heart. So it's awesome. Tell your campers what you want them to do without using negative phrasing. Please listen while I'm speaking instead of stop talking, and give a clear picture of what you want them to do using great job um, to do great job using the words to let me know how you feel rather than having a meltdown. Um, stuff like that. You could try a social story to try to help campers with special needs acclimate to camp. So a social story is a story read in the first person where the camper will be the main character, and it's created to help children work through social situations in which they need to maintain appropriate behavior. It could be as simple as writing it out on a piece of paper and having the camper read it aloud or to themselves. And I'll take a couple like seconds for you to just read over this. So um, it's sort of this example shows their transition to camp um, and how they will act at camp. So very, very fun. The last one is inclusion. And so, um, yes, these campers may have special needs, but it really just means that they just have different needs. Again, we all have different needs, but it just really just affects the way that you are approaching a situation where they may have behavior and you're just trying to understand them. That's all it really is. And our main job, again, at camp is to create a supportive community and to include all types of kids. Mm. In order to prepare for certain personality types, diabetes, and needs, your program director works with guardians to fill out a special needs questionnaire, answering a lot of questions that will help you work best with your camper. And so at the beginning of camp, at our pre-camp training, we do get binders, and you'll find out what kids' tendencies are if they have special needs, medications, allergies, anything like that. And it's really helpful to go through that and try to look at some needs that your campers may have before they get there, so then you can start thinking and brainstorming strategies to use if you are ever in situations that may be a little bit tough. And then this is also a great way to promote inclusive behavior because you are anticipating these challenges and before camp is even there, and it can help you think of really creative and fun ways to include all of the campers and make them really feel safe, loved, and valued. And respected. So definitely think about it, and preparation is key. And then also, if you do know a camper has a specific diagnosis, remember not to share that information with any other camper. And here are some ways to promote inclusion. So, keeping a sense of humor, staying flexible, asking for help. You all have co counselors. Um, my cabin last year, all my co counselors were rock stars, and we had a lot of situations where we had a camper with special needs, and uh, we really just worked together to help provide a camp experience that the camper felt was valuable. So utilize whoever you can, and if you do need help, um, I really, really encourage you to ask someone for it because ultimately, when you ask someone for help, it's providing a better experience for this camper. Um, Another thing that you could try would be to have a camper who struggles with certain challenges pair up with another child who does not and who's willing to help. And so it also creates this inclusive culture, helps them get to know another person in their cabin, forms more relationships and connections. And again, just everything that's great about camp, it just fosters. Emphasize sportsmanship and teamwork as opposed to winning. Give out awards for campers who promote inclusive culture. Respect various ways of participating and learning and celebrate those differences. And you could even do like a game. So list the first chart. Um, Talk to your campers about things they've tried to learn at camp and a new skill that they learned from it. Did they make a new friend? Uh, it allows campers to get individual recognition, but it also helps counselors and fellow campers learn more about each other. So, again, increasing connections, great stuff. And the goal is for everyone to be included together. Perfect, perfect, perfect. So, if you do have any questions, again, um, feel free to ask, but take the quiz. Thank you for watching. You are great.